Did you ever blow into a Nintendo cartridge and think that it would work?
All right, listen, dude, listen. There is literally nothing on this planet, scientific, philosophical, or otherwise, that will convince me that blowing into a freaking Nintendo or Super Nintendo or N64 cartridge does not help. It helps.
Get those dust particles out. Get those dust particles out. Alright everyone, and welcome to another edition of Game Wild. We are into May now, believe it or not. So I believe this is month 2, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
Of what, COVID?
Well, no, we know that we know that COVID started like in March, but I mean our podcast, because our podcast was pre-COVID. We were talking in February.
January, I think the last week
January?
of January maybe was a pretty, yeah. So
maybe.
This is
February.
fifth month. This is like the 5th month, man. Jeez,
well,
what are you smoking?
Wow, I just been, well, yeah, because this is episode number 16, I believe, right? Is it 16?
Yeah, 16, yep.
I can't read or write, so. Anyways,
well, shit,
guys,
that's a problem. I don't know if we can keep
that is a
this
problem.
podcast.
We can't. So we decided this week that we were going to do something that we felt was a little fun, and kind of talk about something that I found while just scouring the internet as usual for stuff to talk about. And it happened to be IGN released a video about the top 10 urban legend, video game legends, myths, whatever you want to call them.
Oh, yeah.
And I figured we'd go through what they had to say about the top 10. Some of them I wasn't sure about. Some of them I remember. Some of them I know about. Some of them I believe. So
no, one of them at least I'm positive is 100% true. So forget what they tell you. It's true, and we're going to go over that.
So we're also going to mix this in as the question of the week. So what urban legend are you buying into is going to be that question. So it looks like we both kind of have our choice here. So we'll go through them, and then once we go through them, we will then answer the question of the week. And then we will go through the Ruffhouse deals, and we will also go through what's coming out next week or this week or whatever, and that will be the podcast for this week. So before we start talking about the top 10, let us not forget that our special friends need to give us a 5-star review, a 5-star rating and review. Excuse me.
Special now.
And
okay, all right.
Everyone's special. Anyone listening to us is special.
Okay, all right. I agree.
Yeah. So please do that. Give us a good review and 5 stars. Please like, subscribe, do anything you can within the platform that you're listening us in, or if you're viewing us right now, whatever. I don't know.
If you're listening to us on a platform, do the like stuff.
Yeah, long morning so far. It's Saturday morning, May 2nd, as we're recording this. We'll obviously be out on May 4th. And may the 4th be with you. Exactly. Just don't do it on Twitter, or else you won't, you know, Disney gets to use all your stuff apparently.
Yeah, right.
So anyways, getting back to everything. Yeah, long morning, but what are you going to do? It's time to go through the top 10 myths marked down by IGN. So please note, this is something I took from IGN. So this isn't necessarily something that I marked as my top 10 or SJW marked as his. It's really just, hey, IGN did this video, and I thought it was cool. And
I think it's
SJW
awesome.
and I talked about it, and we said, why not have fun with it? We don't always have to talk about the news. We can always just talk about game stuff, you know.
And the first one, and the very first one actually allows us to talk about sports and link it back to gaming. So,
yeah, exactly.
Once again,
so
bringing sports into the fold, but still convincing everybody that it has to do with gaming. So we're good.
And the number 10 is probably going to be one that we're going to be talking about a little bit of the podcast and possibly the majority, because I'm going through each year to help kind of solidify whether or not this curse or
it's a thing.
What this thing is actually a thing. So number 10, the Madden curse. Yes, everybody, there is a curse out there that people have talked about for many years, dating back to 1999. And why 1999, you say? Well, Madden has been a game that's been around since the 80s, believe it or not, and people have been playing it on their PCs before it came on consoles. And basically what happened is that John Madden himself, which is what the game is named after, was on every cover of Madden until 1999.
Oh, yeah.
So it was either John Madden, no person at all, which I don't believe ever happened.
I think it was always
and
Madden.
then I think it was always Madden. And then in 1999, they decided to do cover players. And so ever since then, there's been this idea that there's been a curse to that player, whether it was just for the year that they played and they were on the cover, or subsequent time after that, their world basically declined on them. Okay, so we're gonna go year by year. I'm going to tell you who it was and what happened to him that season and subsequent seasons, and you can then decide for yourself whether or not it's just happenstance and, hey, people get hurt, whatever, or are these people really cursed? And another thing I want to bring up, during the time that these people were put on the cover, they were marked as superstars, which means that their playing ability was high level, high caliber.
Well, yeah,
so
when they're put on the cover, the previous season that they had prior to being on that cover was usually like a standout season. Like they just wrecked. A running back ran for over 1,000 yards, a receiver ran or caught for over 1,000 yards, a QB threw for over 4,000 with a ton of touchdowns, or over 5,000. So just some super good season.
Yeah, or had a lot of hype coming into their coming into the league,
college QB or something, right?
Right, exactly, which is on there. And I want to say that in most cases, there's only one case that I've read that falls under what SJW said, because there's one guy on this list that if you were a fantasy player during the time, you loved this guy the year before he was on the Madden cover, and then afterwards you're like, what happened to him? So let's start. 1999. Garrison Hurst,
that's a
running back
name. Holy crap.
Well, yeah, 1999. We're going back 21 years.
Yep. That's crazy.
Garrison Hurst, running back, San Francisco 49ers, breaks his ankle that year and lost 2 seasons due to complications of surgery.
Leave it to the 49ers to start this off. Thanks a lot, Joe. All right?
Absolutely. And we're going to kind of end on that a little bit too. But 1999, Garrison Hurst, one of the great running backs in 49ers history, that year, near the end of the season, breaks his ankle, and then loses 2 seasons after that because of complications of surgery. Pretty crazy. 2000 is the first time we see 2 players that could possibly don the cover, and I'm not 100% sure if both players actually did or not, but the first player was Barry Sanders. Now, the reason why is there's controversy there, because after Barry Sanders is on the cover or is signed to be on the cover, he abruptly decides to retire from the Detroit Lions. And so, out of nowhere, he retires. And as we say for a curse, the Lions have not replaced Barry Sanders since then. So, in 20 years, the Lions have not found a superstar running back to the ilk of Barry Sanders. And so EA said, you know what, we have to make a move. He's retired. He's not playing. We want a player who has some cachet to be on the cover, and that is Dorsey Levens, running back, Green Bay Packers in 2000. Well, let's just say that Levens was hampered by injuries that year, and his team had their worst record since 1992, and he was released from the team in 2001, the year after, and never could really get back into the NFL. So,
well, and I think that was the only year that they had to make a change like that, wasn't it? Where like somebody retired. There's no other year.
Yep.
That they
had nothing like that. But we will have dual covers coming up, where there are other players that were on the cover in the same year. 2001, Eddie George. Eddie George, let's talk about this for a second, because this one's a little shaky. This is where it kind of gets shaky for me. His season ends on a bobbled pass that was then intercepted and run back for a touchdown, which ended the Tennessee Titans' year.
That was one of their better seasons, too, which I agree
one of their
with
better
you,
seasons.
too. I don't
but
know if this is 100%
he ended their season on a bobbled pass that was intercepted that eliminated them from the playoffs, and then after that, he would never run for more than 1,200 yards.
This is where I kind of question. It's
season.
like, if you're looking for something bad, you're gonna find it, right? Like, if you look hard enough, you'll find something
and this
bad.
is why it's a curse. Well, this is why it's tough, right? And it's a curse, and it's a myth, but bad things have happened to these people since then. Now, you could say, okay, well, maybe Eddie George just was on the downturn of his career. Who knows? But we'll keep going, and then you keep it in the back of your mind. Some of them are very thin, but some of them you have to say to yourself, you have to say to yourself, wow, that really sucks. And it comes back to 2002. So 2002, Dante Culpepper, quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, dons the cover. And this is when people really started to say, hey, maybe there is a curse. Like the years before that, it was like whatever. But 2002 was really when the curse started to kind of come into play. And now we have a knee injury that caused him to miss the entire season. And after that, he would never be the same.
He was such a good QB too with Randy Moss,
right? With Randy Moss and stuff
afterwards. And you know what? And you're 100% right. That's why it finally became a curse, because now you have two big injuries that ended two huge players' careers that could have otherwise kept playing for a decent amount of time. So I think once Culpepper happened, I think that's why Eddie George kind of just had that thrown in there. Like, all right, in order to make this a curse, let's find something Eddie George screwed up. And
right, exactly. But then. Well, let's go to 2003. Marshall Faulk, running back for the Rams at the time. I believe they were St. Louis at the time. They're now the LA Rams again. But he was part of the Greatest Show on Turf, which was basically, I would say,
Patriots ended in 2001, by the way.
Yep. Right. But they were still a good team through those years. But in 2003, he was unable to run for more than 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. And then he just declined, including missing out of all of 2006. So 3 years later, he doesn't even play. It's just sad. And he's one of the greatest running backs of all time. 2004, probably the closest to the most controversial, because back-to-back controversial players. And what I mean by controversial is their personal lives were marred by very strange and sad things.
The dogs of Vic.
Well, this is Michael Vick, 2004, a.k.a. Ron Mexico.
A.k.a. the coolest guy to watch playing football. I loved watching him just do backflips.
Michael Vick, quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, a.k.a. Ron Mexico, who was a quarterback in a game that was... I can't remember the name of it. It ceases, but there was actually a quarterback named Ron Mexico in like a very violent football game that a company made to try to rival and say, hey, we want vicious, bone-breaking hits and stuff like that. I can't remember the name of the game. I'll have to look it up. I probably should have, but he fractured his fibula in the preseason, causing him to miss the first 11 games of the season in 2000. So, I mean, that's crazy, right? He's a superstar. He's been doing great things for the Falcons, and in the preseason, when he's the cover guy, he breaks his fibula and misses the majority of the season. And then let's not forget what happened to him after the fact with the whole dog scandal, which was very sad. 2005, the other person marred by some very strange personal stuff, Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis, everybody. And if you don't remember, he was found not guilty of murder, but everyone basically alleged that he had done it. And
there's a lot of videos online of him talking.
He had stabbed people or something. Yeah. But that's crazy on itself. But although this year wasn't terrible for Lewis, he didn't record an interception for the first time in his career.
He kind of had a delayed curse, though, if you look at it.
Yeah, and his team... Yep, and then his team didn't make the playoffs that year, and he tore his hamstring, missing the next season.
Yeah, so that's kind of a delayed curse, right? Because he missed the next season. And that's
what is why it's tough to say whether or not is the player just cursed, or is it the year that he played that was cursed. Like, there's very varying opinions on what this actually is.
Yeah, there's not strict guidelines to this.
Exactly. 2006, Donovan McNabb tore his ACL and declined over the rest of his career. So he tore his ACL, and then from there he was never the same, and his career just declined from there. So that was pretty sad. Yep. Quarterback, by the way, Ray Lewis, linebacker, Baltimore Ravens. I'm giving you their positions. Donovan McNabb, QB, Philadelphia Eagles at the time. 2007, Sean Alexander, running back, Seattle Seahawks, broke his foot in week 3 and never truly recovered. As a matter of fact, I believe he was out of not the NFL per se, I'm not sure, but he was off the Seahawks by 2000.
Yeah, oh my God, what even happened to him? He just fizzled and disappeared into nothingness.
Yep. Well, right, exactly, because he broke his foot in week 3 and never truly recovered from it.
Yeah, but that means 2008 and 2009, he just stopped he either wasn't on a team or just couldn't find a team or something. Like, nobody even heard about his retirement or any of that shit. Like, wow.
Yep. 2008, Vince Young, quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. He injured his quadricep that year and then became a backup as his actual backup took over for him. And he was also marred with injuries in subsequent seasons. So that sucks, right?
Another guy that fell off the map. He just
2009 is very interesting. They put Brett Favre on the cover. He was retired at the time they were honoring him. He decided to come back, and he ends up playing for the New York Jets. And so not only is he the cover man and his actual jersey is the Green Bay Packers because that was the team he was best known for playing for, he comes back and plays for the Jets. And he did not have a bad year but was injured late in the season. So that one's kind of an anomaly, if you ask me, because he was technically retired. Right, but he retired, so he already knew he was an old ass. So, I mean...
he already knew he was on the down slope. I mean, yeah, I still... See, me, though, when I'm looking at these, I'm thinking, okay, if it's an injury, then it qualifies as a curse, like, no matter what. So I think that definitely counts as a curse with the injury. Because if you go through this list, there's, like, 10 or 11...
most of them are injuries. Most of them are all injuries.
Well, just a little bit more than half, I think. So I think right there, just being a little bit more than half is at least... a little bit more than just a coincidence, right?
Yep.
I think that's really why this kind of sticks as a curse to most people.
Right. 2010 is the first time that two players don the cover on the same cover, and that's Larry Fitzgerald and Troy Polamalu. Now, this is where you first say maybe only one person gets the curse, because Larry Fitzgerald had a normal year and he is still going strong. Granted, his team's never really done anything.
Troy disappeared
since that, but Troy Polamalu had an MCL injury in week 1. His team didn't make the playoffs that year. So if you want to say that Larry Fitzgerald skirted it, Troy Polamalu got the brunt of it.
Yeah, he's probably thanking his lucky stars Troy was on the cover with him, if that's the case. You know, people probably make that joke to him all the time.
2000. So Larry Fitzgerald, wide receiver, Arizona Cardinals. Troy Polamalu, safety, Pittsburgh Steelers. Drew Brees, quarterback, New Orleans Saints, had statistically one of the worst seasons to date, and the team had a losing record and did not make the playoffs. So, no injury there, but you don the cover. You're one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history, and you don't make the playoffs. You don't have a winning record.
He did end up winning the Super Bowl, like, what, 3 years later? Or when did the Saints win?
I can't remember when he won that Super Bowl, but remember, we're trying to focus on that year, not technically subsequent years if we can try not to. But, yes, he did win the Super Bowl.
Was it before or after that, though? Did he get the cover because he won the Super Bowl?
I don't think so, but we can find out in 1 second.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see if, because a lot of these two on here, they say, like, you know, they never bounced back, right? So, and Drew Brees is definitely, he was getting old at that point. That was when he first started
2010.
Okay, so he did. He got on the cover because he won the Super Bowl. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's 3 years late. That's technically the year later. So yes, absolutely, that's the case. So you went from a Super Bowl team the year before to not making the playoffs, having a losing record, and having one of the most statistically one of the worst seasons in history. Okay. Here comes that player that I was talking about, okay? So if you're a fantasy football player and you were playing back, 10 years ago, the 2010, 2011 seasons, right? Peyton Hillis, running back, Cleveland Browns, came out of nowhere in fantasy football and was just a beast. Everyone loved him, right? Had a contract dispute the year after, trying to get a better deal. And then injuries caused this one to be a one-hit wonder. 1 year, and he was pretty much out. Exactly. So could this have been the curse that caused this person not to be able to have a flourishing career after having the best year of his career?
Well, I will say too, he stands out on this list. Like, if you look at every other name on this list, they were like an all-star player for most of their career.
Yeah, he was one of the first players, in my opinion, that came up as, like, this guy's the hottest player in the NFL right now. Let's jump on it.
Yeah, let's just make money off him being on the cover. So.
Now, 2013, Calvin Johnson, a.k.a.
Megatron.
wide receiver, Detroit Lions, had probably one of the better years, believe it or not, and was one of the first cases to say, well, is there truly a curse? Now, if we believe in the delayed curse situation,
He ended up,
a lot of people believe that Calvin Johnson ended his career way too soon. And then he had a couple more years left in the tank.
That's more of a personal decision, though. Like a lot of NFL players.
Well, there was all talk about knee injuries and stuff like that. But 2013, Calvin Johnson had a really good year. His team, however, didn't do it. His team never really did anything well, unfortunately, it's true. 2014 was one of the first years Madden decided not to use a year because it was the 25-year anniversary of Madden. So they called it Madden 25. Adrian Peterson happened to be the person who donned the cover that year. Now let's talk about the fact that he had massive injuries that year and his team had a losing record. And then we can always bring up the fact that he had problems where he was abusing kids allegedly with a Switch, and not a Nintendo Switch, but an actual like.
Dude, you gotta clarify that on this podcast.
That's true. Those things are very hard to find right now.
Yeah, I don't think most people know what those are unless they were born in the 30s.
Right, exactly, or the South, I guess.
And I will say too, before we get into the next one as well, I think Calvin Johnson in 2013.
Yep.
I think that's where a lot of this might not actually be a curse started, because there's a lot more positive seasons after 2013 than the whole, back from 1999.
Oh, well, wait. We're going to get to one where that's going to be contradicting massively.
Well, yeah, but look, like next up in 2015, we got Richard Sherman.
He had a great season.
He had a great season.
And then he tore his ACL and was never the same, was released by the Seattle Seahawks, and the San Francisco 49ers decided that it was time
What year did he tear his ACL?
I believe it was 2018 or 2019. Yeah, 2018, because he's been on 9.
How delayed are we?
Well, that's 2 years. That's only 2 years.
That's
so,
like 3 years. I don't know,
but can I tell you that he's had a resurgence as a 49ers corner? So you could say that he had some bad luck, but he's been doing great, and he went to the Super Bowl last year, and
I don't think that
stuff like that.
I think it's too delayed.
Maybe not. Odell Beckham. So Richard Sherman, cornerback, by the way, for the Seattle Seahawks at the time. Now cornerback for the 49ers. Odell Beckham Jr., wide receiver, New York Giants at the time. Now wide receiver for the Cleveland Browns. Although the season he had wasn't bad by statistical, he did have some issues next season where he was suspended for anger issues. But he still had a good season. But now he's a Cleveland Brown, so that's a curse on its own.
That's it. Yeah, I don't know if you ever shake that curse. That's rough for him, man.
Now here we go into the New England territory. 2017, Rob Gronkowski, tight end, New England Patriots, now tight end, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Injury-plagued season, and so bad that he could not participate in the Super Bowl. However, his team did win the Super Bowl that year. So how about that?
That's more of a Patriots thing, though. But for the person, Rob, I think the curse did affect him. Tom Brady, who's actually next in 2018. If you guys don't know who that is, quarterback for the Patriots. So I'm sure
now Tampa Bay. Now Tampa Bay, by the way.
That's so crazy. That's so weird. I'm never going to get over that.
Well, can I tell you what I think is crazier is the fact that he's trying to copyright phrase Tampa Bay.
Oh, my. You have got to be kidding me. That's a thing. Are you shitting me?
That is a thing. Tampa Bay is a thing.
Oh, that's a little too much. That doesn't even roll off the tongue. Like, what? Oh, come on, Tom Brady.
Welcome to Tampa Bay.
In that kind of, I lost, you know what? Not going to lie, I lost a little bit of respect for Tom Brady there. That's a little
Welcome to Florida, everybody.
TB12 was legit. TB12 was the shit. Tampa Bay is bullshit. That is not good.
So, Tom Brady had a great season that year. However, they did lose to the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. So, now here comes the craziest one of all. If I had to say that this curse is real, this guy takes the cake. Madden 2019,
so oh my God.
Antonio Brown, wide receiver, Pittsburgh Steelers, currently unemployed. Also, in that year,
wait, is it because of COVID?
was a wide receiver for the Oakland. Well, no, not anymore. They were at the time Oakland Raiders, but now the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yep.
And then the New England Patriots. And then it was released during the season. And
if the Patriots
in
can't
2020,
figure him out, he's screwed.
So
oh God, that's
he had
bad.
a great season in 2019. However, at the end of the season, he decided to sit out a game that really could have decided the fate of the Pittsburgh Steelers to get them into the playoffs. And after that season, they decided to trade him to the Oakland Raiders, in which he would never play a game for them. And then was traded to the New England Patriots, who he only played one game. As a matter of fact, it was so disappointing because we went to me and a bunch of people from work went to the New York Jets game that year, which was the third game of the season. And guess what? He was released the game before. He had such a great game week 2, and then all this stuff came out about his girlfriend and abuse, and there was just all these things. So he was let go, and he's just crazy on Twitter and did some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You could watch videos on Twitter and Instagram where he was running around his backyard when the Raiders released him, saying that he was free at last, this kind of thing. He was just crazy. And then the Patriots picked him up and decided to, hey, let's try him out. And unfortunately, they released him 2 weeks in. It didn't work out. And
that's
he's
crazy.
now unemployed, and I don't think he ever will be employed.
He was legit the best wide receiver for like 2 or 3 years. Like the
He was
best
solid.
in the league. And
Yeah.
I had him on my fantasy team. He was amazing.
A lot of people did, and a lot of people took flyers on him when he went to the Patriots too, and had him on there. And a lot of people were very sad in fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Now, here comes probably one of the biggest, like, hey, if there was ever a curse, this is totally nullified.
Yeah.
This season's cover man was Patrick Mahomes. Now, he did suffer a knee injury in the beginning of the season. However, he bounced back to win the Super Bowl.
He said, hell no to that curse.
Okay. Well, you just hurt a lot of people's ears, so thanks, buddy. Appreciate
He said, F the curse. I'm going to still win a Super Bowl for my team. And he
Yeah,
wrecked it.
so if we talk about injuries, he did get a knee injury. Luckily for him, it wasn't severe, and he was able to bounce back and win the Super Bowl, or help his team win the Super
And
Bowl.
he's probably the best QB in the league right now.
I would probably say the person who's going to be donning the newest cover is up there with him as well, and that's Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
So they've announced that the Madden 21 cover man is Lamar Jackson, quarterback. Oh, sorry. By the way, Pat Mahomes, quarterback, Kansas City Chiefs. Lamar Jackson, quarterback, Baltimore Ravens. He's going to be this year's athlete coming up. We'll see what happens. He had a tremendous season last year, and could we see him continue to have that season next year? I predicted him to be one of the best quarterbacks in fantasy. I got him in 2 out of the 3 fantasy leagues that I was in. I just want to let you know I did win one of those leagues. The other league, I had some poor management, and other players on my team just didn't perform, but I did win one league, and most of it was because of him. So
Damn. Nice.
Big deal.
Nice.
So there you go. Do you guys believe there's a curse? Let us know in the comments. Is this
that was
the curse?
That was just one.
And
of
that's just
the
one.
rumors.
Now, granted, this was really long. The next few are going to be pretty fast. So we've spent about 20-plus minutes on this one, but everything else isn't going to be so bad. But in the comments below, is this your one?
Is the Madden one the one that you believe?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Number
so if you're watching
9.
the video, hit up the comments.
Number 9, Kill Switch. Did it even exist? PC game in 1989. It is said to believe that they made so little copies of this game that most people have never played it or don't even know it existed. And apparently when you beat the game, it deletes itself. That was the biggest rumors, but there's just like no real information on this game, but apparently that's the thing. And we'll have some links below to certain things. So in Kill Switch, I did put some links in our notes here about it, so we'll put some of that stuff on there. There's actually a wiki about it as well. Really strange, right?
Yeah, I think the one that there's one on Kotaku that's an article about it. And honestly, wait, didn't they make like Kill Switch? Is there a Kill Switch 2?
Well, there's a Kill Switch for like the Xbox or PlayStation, I believe.
Okay.
But I don't think it's the same type of game. I mean, in regards to like, I don't think it follows the same background as this one did. but it was on there as number 9.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I've honestly, it's supposed to be like Myst. That game Myst, which is pretty good. I don't know. I have never played Kill Switch, so I don't know if I really believe in that one. So we'll see.
So number 8. They're calling it the birthday suit codes. Now, what that means is that back in the late 90s and stuff, when the animation got much better and 3D pixels and everything it was starting to go 3D from real pixels and everything of that nature, and just go like really like, hey, how realistic can we get?
In other words, when nerds and geeks started finding anime characters hot and stuff like that. Yep.
Right. Okay. Sure. There were these nude codes that you could put together for games like Tomb Raider, Dead or Alive, games like that were just showing off women that were from a little bit more top heavy, let's say. And
oh, that's a good way of look at you. That was a good politically correct way of putting that. Good job.
And so there's no true truth to any of these rumors that you could actually get Lara Croft naked. However, people did create I believe mods to these games that did allow that. But as far as in the actual built-in game itself, which Tomb Raider originally was Crystal Dynamics, I don't know what the name of the new company is or if it's still Crystal Dynamics, but there is actually no nude code in the original Tomb Raider.
Was this rumor supposed to be with PlayStation or PlayStation 2? I think it was with PlayStation, right? Like the
well, it was just
Tomb Raider?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that's what it was breaking off.
See,
but
I don't know,
so.
man. I could have sworn, because there were so many cheat codes back in the day, right? Up, down, left, right, up, down, left, right, L2, R2. So the Konami code, right? Like I feel like there was one for Tomb Raider, like, and I feel like I actually saw that one time with that, but I don't.
Well, that's why I'm saying I believe that there were modifications made to the game, but the true source code. No, I think the true source code wasn't. There wasn't a built-in cheat code to make her naked.
So I wonder. All right, so maybe I just saw the mod code then, but I don't know, man. I just something in me is saying there's a cheat code for it. I guess they.
Well, it's on the list and it's IGN, so for them to poo-poo it, I think they do enough research where we can be confident that these haven't been fully proven.
Well, excuse me. There is one on here. I told you that is definitely true, and you know it is.
Well, we'll get to that one. Number 7. Did the PlayStation 2 almost end the world?
This was so stupid.
It has been rumored that the PlayStation 2 was so powerful at the time that Saddam Hussein, the leader of Iraq at the time, had purchased tons of PlayStation 2s so they could rip out the processors and build WMDs. However, the government says that they never found WMDs after taking over Iraq. So this is a myth we can put to bed and probably just skip over because there's really no one to say about it.
What was it called when like 1999 to 2000 on New Year's Eve, everybody thought the world was going to end?
Y2K?
Y2K. So I think this is a product of Y2K. This was the year after the PS2 got released in 2001. Plus we had 9/11, and I think that everybody was just freaking out because Y2K happened. Technology's getting insane. Like, oh my God, technology's gonna kill us all. Robots are gonna end the world. And Saddam Hussein obviously is like basically trying to end the world. So everybody freaks out and let's play it on the PS2 because it seems like the coolest, most technological thing we got right now. Let's just say it can make bombs and kill people. So. Like, I think this was so stupid when I heard this originally. I remember.
Well, it's about to get darker here, and it's pretty creepy. Number 6. Did Pokemon lead to suicide? Yes. I said it. So, in some of the Pokemon games, there's a place called...
laughing. I feel like I should be
It's because of how I'm doing my voice. I know it is. It's like I'm changing my voice.
Oh, my God.
Pokemon had a lavender town, and apparently it was an area where it was a graveyard for Pokemon, where past Pokemon were laid to rest. And apparently it was so depressing and sad that allegedly people who played the game were committing suicide because they were so depressed over it. However, there is no record this ever took place, and there's no documentation that anyone ever killed themselves because Pokemon's Lavender Town was too depressing. However, it made the list. And once again, please note, this is IGN's list. This is not our list. So as crazy as shit like this sounds, that's why it's called myths, people, because myths are crazy. And a video game leading to your suicide is probably not going to happen in most cases.
That's why they have a show called Mythbusters, okay? Which I
right.
think
they never played that game though.
Well, no, I don't think they did, but I think Mythbusters did do some video game myths a while ago.
I'm sure they did, but nothing to the effect of, hey, is this so depressing you want to kill yourself?
I don't think they did that. All right, so here's my theory on where that rumor came from, and I know this is going to be a little real for people, so let's just take a step back here for a second. And I always bring this up because of that YouTube guy, Aaron Paul, who made that video about the Japanese suicide forest, which is real. That is a thing. I think that because Pokemon is a heavily Asian-based game, and the culture of Japan and China, and a ton of people, especially in Japan, play that game. They're huge into video games. I think that's where the suicide notion came from. If anybody knows this random fact, Japan's suicide rate is the highest in the world. So that is, I don't know, that's just me personally where I think that came from. They have suicide forests in Japan. Japan has the highest suicide rate in the world. Everybody in Japan plays Pokemon and loves video games and Nintendo. Suicide. So it's a little dark, yeah, but I don't think it's a thing. I think people are just finding
it's depressing now.
Another way. I know, right? I think people are just trying to find another way to blame.
Well, let me tell you something. I'm not bringing this podcast up, Benny, by going to number 5. Did the CIA?
Jesus, come on, man.
Did the CIA create a mind control game? Back when arcade games were the thing, they came out with this game called Plobius. It's a puzzle shooter which had a lot of flashing lights and a lot of quick cuts that allegedly led to a lot of people having some mental issues due to the game. Now, granted, this was back in the 80s, so it could just be, hey, they didn't know about the seizures from, the bright lights and stuff as well as they do now. But there is a belief that this game was created by the CIA to build some type of mind control where they were sending subliminal messages to people through the lights and stuff. So that is myth number 5. So
I actually didn't.
There you go.
I haven't even heard of that one.
Me neither. So but let's go to myth number 4, which is a lot of fun and is one of the games that one of the games we've streamed. Well, yes. One of the series, I should say, we've streamed. We haven't actually streamed this game, but that we do stream on our Twitch channel from time to time. Diablo, Secret Warrior Cows? Well, back in the original Diablo, there was this whole rumor that there was a level where there were all these warrior cows that you would have to fight off. Well, no one has ever found that level to this date. However, in Diablo 2, Blizzard was so happy that this rumor was around, they decided to make a cow level in Diablo 2. So Diablo 2 does have a cow level. However, the original does not, which is where the myth stemmed from.
And to all of you game developers out here, this is the mark of a awesome game developer. I think Blizzard's kind of been on the downslope lately, but I think back in the day, back in their heyday, when Diablo 2 was huge and StarCraft and all that good stuff, I mean, when you listen to your followers like that and you listen to the community, I mean, that's all, like, doing something like that is crazy cool for the video game community as a whole. Everybody appreciates it. And to this day, Diablo 3 even has a cow level. You have to get specific items and whatnot, and it's fun. It's so fun because it's just so crazy. You're in this evil demonic game, and then you get these items put together, and now you're in a level full of like rainbows and cows and stuff that you slaughter. So it's just it's interesting.
So there's some levity to these next couple of ones. So we've gone past the dark shit, and now we're going into some things that are a little more. So does Sasquatch, aka Bigfoot, exist in San Andreas?
Is it Sasquatch or Sasquatch?
I don't know. I guess it's Sasquatch. I'm not good at. I don't pronounce things very well. So
yeah, you can't read it right, remember?
Exactly. I can't get anything right. I can't read it right. So there have been tons of people who have said that they have seen giant dark figures in the background while playing San Andreas, but whenever they try to get close to it, it's gone. So is this Bigfoot? Is this people too many people hopped up on Mountain Dew?
I'm gonna go with the latter. I'm gonna go with the latter there.
Maybe they feel like they're spider monkeys and they're just hopped up on Mountain Dew. Who knows? But it has been confirmed that Rockstar, the maker of the game, said that Bigfoot does not exist in San Andreas. However, there was a Sasquatch or whatever the fuck you want to call him, Bigfoot mission, I guess, in GTA 5 or something. So they did, once again, when you ask about people listening to what their communities has going on, they did do something like that. So Rockstar did it as well.
Amazing developer, so good on them.
So that is number 3, everybody. Number 2, the secret boss of Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. So apparently there was a translation issue when they were talking about one of Ryu's attacks, I guess. And one of the things it says is that you must defeat Sheng Long to stand a chance. And so everyone's like, who? This must mean that Sheng Long is a secret fighter or anything. So this started a rumor that Sheng Long existed. And then April of 92, EGM. Let me ask you a question. Do you know what EGM stands for?
That's a magazine, right?
It was a magazine, yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what it stands for?
Is Electronic Gaming Monthly?
There you go. Yay.
And
we got a winner.
And didn't those have CDs in them back in the day?
Sometimes.
Demo discs?
I know that PC Gamer did. I think EGM did too, yeah.
One of my favorite things when I was younger, when I was like legit 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, was going into a CVS, browsing the magazine racks, and finding the video game magazines that had demo discs in them so I could go home and play it with my friends.
There you go.
It was, dude, you want to talk about nostalgia? Holy shit.
So in 92, they had their April Fool's edition where they did actually give a way to access Sheng Long. And it was like super ridiculous. Like you couldn't punch M. Bison. You had to beat him with the time running out, stuff like that. But obviously it was all fake. It was an April Fool's joke. Sheng Long has been put into the mythos of Street Fighter as Ryu's basically master, but that's about it. So he was not in Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition.
Yep, unfortunately. So again, if the developers are listening out there, put Sheng Long in. Do it.
So now, I don't know, maybe he's in one of the newer ones. I don't know. I haven't played Street Fighter in forever. So the number 1, if I had the button that did the whole and going off on the number 1 and having all like those stupid drops that people have of like the number 1. We're gonna do stupid drops too because I'm making them with my voice right now. The number 1 myth is... Did you ever blow into a Nintendo cartridge and think that it would work?
All right, listen, dude, listen. There is literally nothing on this planet, scientific, philosophical, or otherwise, that will convince me that blowing into a freaking Nintendo or Super Nintendo or N64 cartridge does not help. It helps.
Get those dust particles out. Get those dust particles out.
Dude, I'm sorry. Every time you do it, it works. It works. Yeah. Even now, I have an old school.
Okay, but the question is, if you didn't do it, would it work?
Well, we don't care about that. We care that when I blow it, it works. So
but because the point is that you're basically, it's a placebo effect right now of you saying, okay, so what the whole thing is that the contacts can wear pretty easily, so it's not simple for the game to always run, and so you have to put it in a couple times, make sure that it seats right, which is the biggest issue.
It's really just putting it in over and over again. But now prove to me that blowing on it does not help.
Well, see, that's the thing, and that's why you would say to yourself, you would have to do a control and do like, you'd have to have a number, say 10 times you put a cartridge in.
Yep.
How many times does that cartridge play 10 times not being blown in? And then how many times is it not being blown in?
You can't control blowing into it and also putting, because you have to take it out and put it back in order to blow on it. So you're doing both. So what you're trying to do is you put the game in. Like, okay, let's talk about Nintendo, for example. You put the game in, you push it down, you press the power button. Yeah. Does the game play? If it does, 1 for play. Do it power off, okay, take it out. Put it back in, does it play again? And then out of those 10 times, how many times did it successfully play? Then take the same game, blow into it,
and
We're
put
actually,
it in.
we're actually devising a scientific experiment to try to prove whether or not this thing. This I
And
think,
trust
is one
me,
of them-
this is off the cuff, so there's probably a better way to do this, everybody.
Well,
And if
I
you have
think
an
Mythbusters
idea
did it.
or you know of somebody who has done this and there is a test out there that people have proven, do it. Because there's also like alcohol contact, like cleaning the actual cartridge with a like some rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip. There's been things like that people have done. Anyways, there you go. Those are the top 10 myths. We obviously know which myth that Mr. SJW thinks is not.
It's not a myth.
It's true. Well, it's one of those things you can't prove me wrong. So sit in front of I'll put you in front of behind the desk, and on the big cardboard piece there, it's gonna say, blowing into a Nintendo cartridge does in fact fix the cartridge. Prove me wrong. And you can't prove either way because it kind of is a crapshoot. As for me, I would probably kind of go. I would still buy into the Madden curse, man. It might not be perfect, but there's so much overwhelming things happening to the people who have been on it, and only a few have really kind of dodged the curse in respect to it. So I'm gonna have to go with, I'm buying into number 10, and you're actually not really buying into blowing into, and you're buying into that. No, blowing into a Nintendo cartridge actually did something. So
Yeah.
those are our two. Hey, this is what we believe. All the other ones,
Well,
whatever.
I will say the Diablo one on a technicality is technically true now, but if you're going just on the original Diablo,
Which is what it was
alcohol,
about.
Yeah, then it's not.
Great. It's the same idea of saying, hey, I can see Lara Croft naked in a game now too because there's a mod for it. Those types of things. So it's about that. So there are the top 10, guys. This was from IGN. We just like to talk about it because it was interesting. What do you guys think? Put it in the comments. Send us a message if you want as well, and we can talk about this more if people come up with some interesting things, or if you know of other myths that you heard of that you want us to bring up on the podcast. Please let us know. We'll be more than happy to talk about them.
Oh yeah, dude, we could talk all day, every day about damn near any topic involving video games, sports, anything. So,
Agreed.
We got
So now we come to the special segment, Ruffhouse Deals.
Ruffhouse Deals.
And so within Ruffhouse Deals, this week, what did I find for you, my friends? Well, this one is going to be good until May 5th, which is the Tuesday. So you'll have a day to download these games if you listen to us first thing Monday morning. Ubisoft, whichever way you want to pronounce them, has released 3 games for download for the PC. Only caveat is you have to be logged in to their Uplay account, your Uplay account, which is free to do, so it's not like you're spending any money.
Yeah.
And it's good to have a Uplay account because if you do play Ubisoft games, you earn points, and within those points you can buy things for like cosmetics and stuff. Big thing that I used to do was Division. I would get a lot of stuff from Division by using those points, and I'd get a lot of points because I played Division with my Uplay account, a Uconnect account.
Their own platform. It's ridiculous. Like I have there's one for Epic, there's one for Ubisoft, there's one for League of Legends, there's one. I have 7 different platforms. I have Steam that I have to load up just to play video games. Nuts.
So what we're gonna do is put this in the notes, but we're gonna link you to the fact that you can get 3 free PC games until May 5th: Assassin's Creed 2, Rayman Legends, and Child of Light. These 3 games are free until Tuesday, and we would recommend it so that you can kind of spread your wings and play those games if you haven't already, because it's a big deal to play these games if you haven't, because they're pretty damn good.
Yeah, Assassin's
Pretty
Creed 2
damn
has
good.
been around for a little while. I played it, beat it. Very good game.
Now,
actually, before I get into all the new games that are coming out, I have one thing to add.
yeah, I was gonna say that you also found a deal.
Yeah, Soul Calibur. So Soul Calibur 6, no less. This is actually a pretty insane deal. If you go to the Steam store, Soul Calibur 6 recently came out, and it's $59.99. Well, not this week. No. It will be, what is it, $12.99, I think, if I looked it up.
Well, this is your deal, so
I know, it's
you got
75. It's 75% off, and it's only I know, right? It's 75% off, And it's also 75% off of the deluxe edition if you guys do get the deluxe edition. So this is downloadable on Steam. I would pick this up. Like, I plan on buying this. I plan on getting this. Soul Calibur 6 is a high-profile A-list game. Definitely pick this up for the low price of... Did you look it up?
$14.99.
All right, he's got me. $14.99. So whatever 75% of $60.
Yeah,
is.
and this was released back in October of 2018, so it is a 2-year-old game. But the retail price is still $60, so it is a great discount, and it ends May 6th. So you have a couple of days from the podcast release.
Oh, yeah. So, all right. Let's get into all of the new game releases. So this week we have a shorter list than other weeks, and actually one getting delayed until pretty late because of this whole COVID thing. So first up we have John Wick Hex. So John Wick Hex, obviously based on the movie, it's $20. This is actually coming out for PS4 on May 5th, pending. You know, I try to do my best to look up to see if anything's gotten delayed. It doesn't look like this got delayed. And it looks like it's... Oh, sorry, this was actually already released in October 8th of 2019, but they're releasing more DLC for it. John Wick Hex is a fast-paced, action-oriented strategy game that makes you think and strike like John Wick, the professional hitman of the critically acclaimed film franchise, created in close cooperation with the creative teams behind the films. So it's pretty accurate to the movie. Definitely, it looks like a much more interesting game. It's got like those weird cartoony type
cell shaded
graphics. Cell shaded. There you go. You know what the first cell shaded game I played was? It was Dragon Ball Z Budokai. I think was like the first ever cell shaded game. So, but yep. Then we got Someday You'll Return. So Someday You'll Return is slated to come out again on May 5th, 2020. So that will be tomorrow when you're listening to this, pending no delays, but this does look like it didn't get delayed. Someday You'll Return is a story-driven psychological horror game about a desperate search for a missing daughter deep in the woods where you swore you'd never return. Brought to you by the creative duo behind Julia Among the Stars. So another interesting horror type looking game. And then we have Trackmania. So I haven't heard anything about Trackmania, but from what it looks like, you know, looking it up online, they have, I don't know, pretty big following, pretty popular game. Unfortunately, this is getting delayed for release on the PC. It's supposed to be coming out May 5th. It is now delayed until July 1st, so says their website. So Trackmania, if you don't know what it is, it says it is the most popular online PC racing game. I don't know if that's true or not. It fuels 7 different racing environments, hundreds of thousands of tracks, and millions of players to compete with. You can download the car you're dreaming of, paint it, drive it through insane tracks made of loopings, ramps, and off-roads. It's all about you, your driving skills, and the track in front of you. So it sounds like you can build your own tracks, too, from the sounds of that description. So, War Tile. So now, I couldn't remember. I think you and I, Ruffhouse, we talked about War Tile before. I don't know if it was other DLC because it's been out for a little while now. It came out in 2018 in February. But War Tile is a cooldown-based strategy game in which you control a warband of Viking figurines in a miniature universe inspired by Norse mythology. Unravel its secrets and reign the powers of gods. It's basically you're playing miniatures in a video game. You move the pieces on the board like you would in real life, and they move and attack stuff. So some DLC is coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One called Hell's Nightmare. And that releases also on the 5th. We have Arborea for PC. That is coming out on, this says May 7th, although Steam says 2020. So this may very well be a game that got delayed. It says, begin your journey in this dark fantasy roguelite. As a warrior, a Jotun, descend into the ever-changing Durnar and uncover the mysteries of your tribe. Use a variety of symbiotic weapons to fight enemies and mutate to become even stronger. Actually, you know what this reminds me of? What was that game that I was streaming for a while? Mad? Or no, it's 3 letters. Rad. This reminds me of Rad, except it's got far better graphics than Rad. So if you guys are interested in games like that, definitely check it out. That is, again, coming out for PC on May 7th. Fledgling Heroes For the Swift, I am now, or sorry, for the Swift, Jesus, for
What?
the Switch. And you thought you couldn't read her right.
Yeah, right?
For the Switch, I don't know what.
Well, the Swift is going to be the updated version of the Switch that Nintendo's going to release at the end of this year,
faster.
right?
It's faster.
Right?
Take off and take on the world. Leap from the nest into a fun-filled adventure. Meet cute, feathered friends, each with their own wondrous story to tell us. As they dodge dastardly pirate lizards to dash through frozen forests, dive under sunken temples, and flap their way from fledglings to a fully fledged hero. God, that's a tongue twister. So this looks pretty cool. Definitely not a game that I would get for the Switch. It looks more like a kids type game. But that, again, will be coming out for the Switch on May 7th. And Lonely Mountains Downhill. So this is another Switch thing that's coming out. So this came out October 23rd, 2019 for Steam. This is going to come out for the Switch on May 7th. Just you and your bike. Take it on a thrilling ride down an unspoiled mountain landscape. Make your way through the thick forest, narrow trails, and wild rivers. Race, jump, slide, and try not to crash all the way from the peak to the valley. This literally looks like a really upgraded version of that same mountain bike game that you've been downloading on your phone since the beginning of time, where you have to, like, control the bike and flip over stuff. It's like really simple. Just you tap your smartphone screen. Like Excite Bike, I think is no, Excite Bike's that really old NES game, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Never mind. So I can't think of the name of the one on your phone, but kind of looks similar to that. Got very positive reviews, so check it out if you want. And last but not least, Wavy the Rocket for PC on May 7th. Play as Wavy the Rocket as he tries to stop the moon from being destroyed by an evil corporation that removes fizz from soda. Wow. What would we do without fizz? It wouldn't even be soda.
We'd drink water, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be. Well, that's what it would be, right? Flavored water.
Why can't they just remove like the carbs and the calories and everything bad about soda instead?
Right, but instead they remove the carbonation.
Yeah, right. A precision side scroller like no other. Handcrafted and set to seriously funky hip hop. So.
Well, that's why we have to be behind Wavy, because he's trying to save the world from no fizz.
Yeah, exactly. All I think of is fizz. And that is all for the games being released this week and for the podcast.
Wow. Well, that was enlightening, wasn't it, guys? So we do want to thank everyone once again for listening to us. In the comments, please let us know about your myths that you found for the gaming and what you thought about the myths that we went over by IGN. We will be back next week with some more information about things as they come about, or maybe we'll do some more fun stuff. I know we're still working on trying to do a live one at some point in time, and we're still trying to work that out, but we really want to do that because I think it'll be fun. So I want to thank everyone again for listening. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. 5-star ratings, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we will see you